Assalamu alaikum students. I hope you all are well, safe and healthy at home. I'm your course instructor Farzana Khan. Welcome to all of you in this class of classical and Renaissance drama. So students, in previous class you were taught about Sophocles, Oedipus Rex, the summary of the Oedipus Rex, and we also talked about the background and prologue of Oedipus Rex. So in today's class, we are going to talk about the characterization of Oedipus Rex by Sophocles. We will also discuss the themes of this play and Oedipus Rex as a tragic hero. So pay close attention to the lecture to understand the important points and concepts about the characterization, themes, and Oedipus Rex as a tragic hero. When we talk about the characterization of Oedipus Rex, we can say basically although Aristotle regarded plot to be the first and the most important element of the tragedy, he also regarded plot to be the life and soul of tragedy, and although the plot of Oedipus Rex is one of the best, its richness in the field of characterization is no less. The character of Oedipus himself is unforgettable. Jocasta, the unfortunate queen, is also wonderfully imagined. Sophocles makes a brilliant use of parallelism and contrast in characterization. Thus, Oedipus and Jocasta are both compared and contrasted. The two angry men, Oedipus and Tiresias, are very much similar to each other. There is a complete contrast between Creon and Oedipus. Even the two shepherds are strongly contrasted against each other. Let's talk about the major characters of Oedipus Rex. The character Tiresias is basically a blind prophet and servant of Apollo. He reveals the reasons for the devastation and plague in Thebes, and he is the man, basically he is one of the most powerful characters in the play. He is the man who tells Oedipus that he will become blind and poor. Tiresias is a character in two of the three Theban plays of Sophocles. In Antigone, Tiresias' role is only that of warning Creon that his inhuman attitude would bring disaster on him. But in Oedipus Rex, his role is more extensive. It is Creon who advises Oedipus to send for Tiresias and ask him to find some solution for the troubles of Thebes. Later, the chorus also gives him the same advice, and Oedipus replies that he has already done so. It appears, however, that Tiresias is not very eager to appear before the king. Oedipus also has noticed this fact for the expresses surprise that although he has sent for the prophet twice, he has not arrived so far. When the prophet comes and is appealed to by the king to give his advice about the present juncture, Tiresias says that he ought not to have come, and even then suggests that the king might permit him to go back without answering his question. So this is course Oedipus declines to do. Tiresias says that what is to be will happen whether he speaks or not. So Tiresias, who has so far been reluctant to speak out what he knows in the interest of Oedipus himself, is now unable to restrain himself. So he is the man who has been rejected by the Oedipus Rex throughout the play. So Tiresias, a blind prophet, appears in both Oedipus the king and also in Antigone. In Oedipus the king, Tiresias tells Oedipus that he is the murderer he haunts, and Oedipus doesn't believe him. So he is basically blind. So the literal blindness of the Tiresias points to the metaphorical blindness of those who refuse to believe the truth about themselves when they hear it spoken. The second important character of this play is Jocasta. She is the wife and mother of Oedipus. She tells Oedipus not to trust in the oracles. She tries to protect Oedipus from the awful truth. She alternately condemns and upholds the authority of the oracles as best suits the direction of the argument at the moment. While talking about the personal qualities of Jocasta, we can say the characteristics of Jocasta that come into play are mostly those of a wife and a queen. But we are still able to form some impression of her qualities as a woman. She seems to be quite in contrast with fiery emotions of Oedipus, for she basically seems moderate and cool-headed throughout the play. We have observed it when there was a quarrel between Oedipus and Creon, and she tried to calm them both. So throughout the play, she was a very cool-minded lady. She always keeps her personal emotions in check, except at the end when she cries and calling upon the dead Leos when the truth was in front of everyone. When we talk about Jocasta's fate, the poor Jocasta meets with an extremely wretched fate. When the messenger relates that the child Oedipus was given to him by a shepherd who was one of the Leos' men, she is able to piece together the whole episode and realize that Oedipus is her own child. The consequences of this is that he becomes guilty of the murder of Laius and must inflict on himself the punishment which he has proclaimed for the criminal. Moreover, it also means that Jocasta's joy over the failure of oracles heard by Laius has proved to be false. The son of Laius and Jocasta has indeed murdered his father and married his mother, as predicted by the oracle. The poor woman's only concern now seems to that of saving her son and husband from making the same horrible discovery. However, she cannot tell him in so many words as to why he should give up the investigation, for that would defeat its own purpose. She makes a desperate but futile effort to convince Oedipus that the investigation is of no consequences now because the time is over now when the truth becomes clear in front of everyone. So it was difficult for her to face the people. So, unable to bear the shame of that moment, Jocasta decides to commit suicide at once. So, the most important character in this play is Oedipus. Basically, he is the protagonist, he is the hero of the play, and his name means swollen foot. Oedipus Rex means swollen foot. He inspires both pity and fear throughout the play. He is the protagonist because a hereditary curse has been placed on his family, and he unknowingly has fulfilled the terms of the prophecy that he would kill his father, who was Laius, and marry his mother, who is basically Jocasta. When he curses the murderer of Laius, he is basically cursing himself and predicting his own exile and consequent life of wretchedness because he himself was the guilty of killing his father and marrying his mother. His voice revered by his subjects and dedicated to the discovery of truth. He wants to get rid Thebes of the plague, but fate and gods have other things in store for him, which revealed at the end of the play. When we talk about the personal qualities of the Oedipus Rex as a king, so we can say that Oedipus is a highly successful king. He is devoted to his subjects, regarding them as his children, and they also esteem and love him. They are full of gratitude to him because he saved them from the ravages of the horrible Sphinx. As the priest of Zeus says, Oedipus has given such a brilliant proof of his intelligence that it is natural for his subjects to expect that he would be able to find a remedy to every one of their problems. They do not, of course, regard him as the equal of the gods, but they consider him to be above other men. We see in the prologue of the play that Oedipus is very careful about the interests and welfare of his subjects and takes all the steps he can in order to eradicate their troubles, their problems, as he announces a strict punishment for the person who basically killed the Laos. And he also announces that the punishment for him, which basically he had to face by the end of the play. So there are certain qualities that distinguish Oedipus as a man. The most striking of these, of course, is his intelligence and the great faith that he and others put in it. However, it seems that this overconfidence makes him fall into error and treat others unjustly, because he treated unjustly with Tiresias. Oedipus' unfairness to Tiresias is even more marked. He treats the old prophet with mockery and contempt, claiming that he is not a real prophet because he was not willing to believe in the words of Tiresias, but ultimately he has to face a tragedy when he came to know that he killed his father and he is the husband of his mother. The other characters which need to be discussed: chorus of Theban elders. The Greek chorus played a crucial role in Greek plays. Members of the chorus, 12 to 15 actors, remained on the stage throughout the entire play and periodically recited poetic songs in unison. Overall, the chorus observed and interpreted the actions of the play, reacted to characters and events, and even probed the characters with questions and gave them advice. So chorus are men of Thebes who honor and respect the king and gods. So the chorus consists of 12 or 15 elders of Thebes. This group is not intended to represent literally all the citizens either of Thebes or of Athens. The play opens with a large delegation of Theban citizens before Oedipus' palace, and the chorus proper doesn't enter until after the prologue, nor does the chorus speak directly for the Athenian audience. Thus, they represented the audience and the citizen in a particular way. According to Aristotle, a Sophoclean chorus is a character that takes an important role in the action of the play, instead of merely making incidental music between the scenes, as in the plays of Euripides. So the chorus may be described as a group personality like an old parliament. It has its own traditions, habits of thought and feelings, and mode of being. So throughout the play, chorus basically exists in a sense as a living entity, but not with the sharp actuality of an individual. It perceives, but its perception is at once wider. So we can say the chorus of Theban's elders are in this play, and their odes reveal both a strong attachment to the king as well as grounding in religious culture. They revealed the culture and their attachment towards the king. So the chorus in this play has no famous statement, though its role is not insignificant. The Theban elders of the chorus are considered to be fairly representative men of Thebes who honor and respect the king and the gods. Their ode reveal both a strong attachment to the king as well as grounding in religious culture. So in the ideal of a theatre, it can be stated that the chorus action is not limited by the sharp. Basically, if we can say that the Theban elders were basically the chorus. Theban elders were the people who basically chorus are the representative of the Theban people. So after the chorus, we will talk about the next character who is Creon. Creon is the most important character. He is the brother of the Leos. That's where Creon occupies the position of an elder statesman. It seems that after the death of the Leos, it was he who found himself interested with the task of ridding the city of Sphinx and who carried out the popular desire that Oedipus, their deliverer, should be offered the kingdom. So it was expected that after the Leos, he should have been the king of the Athens or Thebes. As the brother of the queen, he commands great respect and influences it and showed it towards the Oedipus. He himself points to this when he is accused by Oedipus of having conspired against him. At first, Oedipus also trusts his implicitly. He basically trusts him implicitly. It is he who is sent to Delphi to consult the oracle. It is his advice that Oedipus has sought out how best to tackle the problem of the plague. So Oedipus has accepted the advice given by Creon that the blind prophet Tiresias should be called. After the fall of Oedipus, it is Creon who immediately takes over the rule of the country. So Creon defends himself saying that he has no desire to be king and that Oedipus harms himself in making such accusations. And finally, it was Creon who became the king and who basically who was the ruler of the country. So messenger is basically a minor character in Oedipus Rex. The messenger enters in scene 3 and tells Oedipus that King Polybus of Corinth, whom Oedipus had believed to be his father, is dead. Oedipus also learns from this that messenger told him that Polybus was not his father. Messenger make this point clear to Oedipus, and messenger told Oedipus Rex that he himself had been given Oedipus as an infant by one of Leo's men, and that he had untied Oedipus' bound ankles. He causes the shepherd who left Oedipus to die to come in and testify that Oedipus is the son of Leos. Messengers were common devices which were used in Greek drama. They were often used to relate action that occurred off stage or to summarize events that have taken place between acts or scenes. So it was the messenger who tells Oedipus that Oedipus, the king of Polybus of Corinth, is dead, and Oedipus learns from him that Polybus was not his father, and messenger had been given Oedipus as an infant by one of Leo's men. So messenger played very important role by making the things clear for the Oedipus in this play. One of the minor characters is Shepherd of Leos. He reveals his information only after Oedipus threatens his life. He admits to receiving the infant from Leos and Jocasta, and the infant was basically the Oedipus. Oedipus eventually realizes his own identity and his crimes of patricide and incest after hearing the shepherd's story, because shepherd makes everything clear in front of the Oedipus. Another minor character is second messenger who appears in the last scene and who announces and describes Jocasta's suicide. He predicts future sorrows for a people whose kings descend from this polluted line. And finally, the choral odes bring an additional viewpoint to the play. It basically offers a broader and more socio-religious and socio-religious perspective than those offered by individual characters because they depict the socio-religious point of view through their songs within the play during certain situations and at certain scenes and acts. So when we talk about the themes of this play, basically it's important to little bit talk about the play. Oedipus Rex is basically the story of a king of Thebes upon whom a hereditary curse is placed and who therefore has to suffer the tragic consequences of fate. So during a time of plague, fires, and other forms of decimation, Oedipus decides to take action to restore life and prosperity to his kingdom, only to discover through this quest that his identity is not what he thought. So he learns that he has killed his father, married his mother, and had children with her. His wife, Mother Jocasta, kills herself, and Oedipus blinds himself and goes into exile. His uncle Creon becomes king of Thebes. So, in this summary, in this uh, play, there are different themes: theme of quest for identity and truth, and the theme of nature of innocence and guilt, and nature of moral responsibility, and the theme of knowledge and ignorance. So the theme knowledge and ignorance is evident from the play. Oedipus' desire to gain knowledge that will help to get rid of Thebes of its pollution is evident from the beginning of the play, when the priest comes to him to ask for help, and Oedipus has already begun the process of searching for solutions. He has sent Creon to Delphi to learn from Apollo that what measures should be taken to get rid of this pollution. So when Creon enters, Oedipus begins questioning him intensely, declares a search for Leo's murderer, and asks for Tiresias' assistance as well as that of others. When a member of the chorus offers information, Oedipus says, "Tell me, I am interested in all reports." So his all search, his all knowledge basically reveals that how he came to know from ignorance and to knowledge, and how he came to know about his guilt. So we can say that in this play there is one of the theme of knowledge and ignorance, because in two or this belief, basically that this is the belief of the Oedipus, that his belief should also be understood in context of Oedipus' ignorance and final tragic discovery of his identity by demanding that others tell him that all they know, he is forced to confront the hideous facts of his patricide and incest. So it's all about the theme knowledge and ignorance. After the discussion of themes, now let's talk about Oedipus as a tragic hero. According to Aristotle, the tragic hero must be a person of noble birth and prosperity whose misfortune results not from depravity but from some hamartia. This is the element of a great tragic hero. The last word has been translated as error of judgment, and by some it has been interpreted as tragic flaw. So Oedipus is clearly the intermediate kind of person stipulated by Aristotle, and he is in enjoyment of great happiness and prosperity at the commencement of the story. However, it is difficult to say that his misfortune befalls him because of some flaw in his character or some error of judgment committed by him. There is no doubt that his character has several flaws and that he does commit some errors of judgment, but the question is whether these errors are the cause of his tragedy or not. Basically, Oedipus is no doubt rash, impatient, and he is a passionate. He is also very proud of his intelligence and believes that he can find the answer to every problem. At more than one place, he is also guilty of his words. His treatment of Creon is far from fair, and he is unnecessarily harsh to Tiresias. Yet, if we take his tragedy to be the basic actions of incense and patricide, then these flaws and errors of Oedipus are quite irrelevant. On the other hand, it is Oedipus who proclaims a severe punishment for the murderer of Laius and also says that he will award the punishment even to himself if he is the guilty person. It is by his words that Tiresias is angered and he prophesies that Oedipus will turn out to be the murderer of his father. And Tiresias prophesies that he will turn out to be the husband of his mother. Moreover, Oedipus provokes himself further by making fun of his blindness, and this leads Tiresias to predict that Oedipus will also become blind and he will be exiled from Thebes. Although the predictions do not bring about the actions mentioned in them, yet they add to Oedipus' suffering and humiliation. One may say that Oedipus commits the fundamental mistakes of thinking himself equal to the gods and of being able to solve every problem. In that case, the tragic flaw of Oedipus is called, we can say that the tragic flaw of Oedipus is basically his arrogance. His career changes from prosperity to terrible adversity, and he makes the terrible discovery that human knowledge is extremely limited and misleading. So it's all we can say. There are different point of view about the Oedipus as a tragic hero, but we can say that he is a noble man, and there is a hamartia tragic flaw of his arrogance due to which he faced tragedy. So it's all about today's class. I hope the points are pretty clear to all of you now. In case of any query, you can discuss with me in the WhatsApp group, and you can also discuss in the class. So till the next class, take care. Allah Hafiz.